Gents! Exclamation point. Earlier this generation, Digital Foundry suggested that a mid-generation refresh might not be necessary. Now that Sony has released the PlayStation 5 Professional, do you feel the same way? And do you think Microsoft might be regretting their choice not to release a Series S/X Elite Ultra Max Edition? This is an interesting question because we had pretty unanimous opinions on this, that a Pro console was not required. When the Pro console was revealed from Sony, we had a question that said, has Microsoft made a mistake by not producing a Pro console? And we said no. However, we have, actually, Alex, you haven't seen it yet, but John and I and most of the rest of the team have seen the PS5 Pro. I think answering this question, the key word that stands out to me is necessary.
Correct.
The PlayStation 5 Pro is not necessary. The standard PlayStation 5 is absolutely fine. But I do think it's a good thing. Now we've been hands-on. What do you think, John?
Exactly that. I would say our opinions really haven't shifted on this matter. I still think it's not that necessary, less so than the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. It's simply a nice to have thing, right? Where like once you actually see it, you're like, yeah, this is cool. This is nice. I would want this, but it's still, I don't think it's actually necessary. And that it's more like, in some cases, it's almost like hardware making up for faults in the software, which is not really a great thing. And I also still think that Microsoft is not regretting their choice, and I don't think it would have moved the needle at all for Xbox. Right. What they need is not more hardware. This is what I'm saying there. That's not the problems that they're facing. And I think they're going to change their direction anyway going forward to something very different. So it just doesn't make sense to follow Sony down this rabbit hole right now. And I think the PS5 Pro is going to be, I think Sony's been very clear about making it so that the PS5 does not seem like a second-class machine all of a sudden. It's like this is essentially another option for people that want a little more from it and are willing to spend for it. It is, I think, it's really just that kind of thing. It's for somebody that's very deep into the PlayStation and they want a better experience than they've already got. And they don't mind shelling out for it. And I think it's cool that such a thing exists, but by and large, it's probably not. It's not going to change that much about the generation, I think.
To echo what John said, I don't think it's necessary. Most technological things aren't. But I think also like it doesn't fulfill like a great niche like John mentioned with regards to PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, where the 4K sets came about and just getting those things, Xbox One games to look actually good on a 4K set was I would say a big deal and something really noticeable to even that casual observer. I don't think that's what PS5 Pro is about. And John really succinctly just said it. One thing that I would say that has probably changed in my opinion regarding it is originally from the AMD side of things, I was just like, I have no idea what they'd put in this box to make it like a worthwhile GPU upgrade or even CPU upgrade, which is another thing, but I don't want to even talk about that right now. But I actually am very happy that Sony decided to make the biggest appeal is really like the machine learning super sampling, the PSSR. And I think that is a really like a way more interesting thing than just a bigger GPU or something like that. I think that is way more interesting. It's going to set the future for PS6, what they're going to be doing there and maybe even beyond it. And I think that is way more interesting just from my tech head perspective about it, where I am actually now more interested in it than I would have been with like a theoretical, I don't know, like 2x GPU, but still runs FSR thing. Like I would just been like, okay. But I think that's way more interesting and also just better for the ecosystem in general over time.
Yeah. My thoughts on this. Well, going back in the day when we were talking about the prospect of a Pro machine, and some of what we were talking about has come to pass. We thought it wouldn't be done because it would be too expensive. And lo and behold, we've got this $700 console, which, scales up in cost, the further away from America you get, seemingly. Um, that's been a problem. In terms of the market, though, well, what can I say? A minority of users will want a better experience and are willing to pay money for it. And that pretty much defines a stack of products in the CPU or graphics space.
Yep.
So Sony are basically adopting a similar strategy there. It's proven to work. You're not going to get gigantic, market changing take up from it, but they clearly think it's worth doing. And in terms of looking to the future of what a next generation console is going to be, the idea that, enhanced ray tracing capabilities and machine learning are now in a piece of hardware that's available to buy right now basically sets the stage for the generation to come.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty good thing to be doing. In terms of Microsoft, I agree with you. I don't think they're regretting their decision whatsoever, and it wouldn't have shifted the needle. I think what Xbox One X did was to restore a certain level of prestige to the Xbox brand. It was kind of needed at that point. Microsoft's strategy going forward is clearly, well, if you want performance, we support PC too. You can choose whatever parts you want. You can tailor your own experience. And, the versions of the games we're going to put out are going to tap into that hardware as well. It's just slightly difficult to communicate that to a kind of parochial Xbox versus PlayStation audience who are expecting Xbox to match Sony point for point. And, that's clearly not worked for them, and it's clearly not the strategy going forward. And, they own Windows. It's a pretty good place to start in terms of reshaping what Xbox is going to be.